invisible human faculties. So, since God is invisible, the question is, how do we communicate with, how do we contact an invisible God? And the answer to that is that we use our invisible faculties. And we have some invisible faculties. One is consciousness. The second is mind. The third is thought. It is interesting to note that some people who reject the idea of an invisible God do not realize that these are invisible faculties that they have. And they do not seem to understand or appreciate that if you have an invisible mind and invisible consciousness, invisible thoughts, that perhaps the source of these invisible faculties itself is invisible. Because how can something that is visible create something that is invisible? It is only the invisible that can create something that is invisible and also create something that is visible. And examples of that are there in nature. You look at water. Water is visible. Water vapor cannot be visible. You can see the radiations of heat that get converted, and then you can see some vapor maybe, but then it dissipates. So you can see that these forms keep on changing. You can take water vapor, condense it into rain, which can then condense into water itself, ocean, then it can become ice. The forms keep on changing, but the basic quality does not change. So when it comes to communicating with an invisible God, you need to use your invisible faculties. Now, how to use these invisible faculties? That is wherein come different principles that you have to practice. And the principles will change you. To give you an idea as to how powerful principles are, we've already talked about the fact that it is the principles of aerodynamics that are supporting the aircraft as it is flying through the air. But let us say that you practice one principle, that no matter what, you are always going to speak the truth. Guess what? It's going to force you to change. Because if you're always going to speak the truth, you will make sure that you do not do something wrong. Because you are not going to run away from it, you are going to speak the truth, and you're going to have to face the consequences of your actions. So since the consequences of your actions are going to be painful, you're not going to do that. Basically, Mahatma Gandhi defeated the British by doing what? Satyagraha. Hold fast to truth. You understand? And the other was non-violence. Ahimsa. So Ahimsa and Satyagraha were the two principles that overthrew the British when they were at the height of their power. That is how important principles are. And principles are invisible. You understand? So if you use your invisible faculties to practice the invisible principles, you will see visible changes in the physical dimension.